There was the Sony conference later that day, the other day, and Night Trap streamed it. It was really fun. It was actually a really, really fun stream because, well, we can kind of get into that, but it was a banger, man. Like, I've been saying how I had my doubts. I had my doubts regarding the Sony press conference because I've been kind of disappointed in the past. Or if I wasn't disappointed, I was just kind of like just unmoved, you know, by Sony events in the past. They just really didn't cater to me and my tastes in particular, and for many others that are a part of this chat and a part of that friends of the channel. We're all kind of along the same wavelength of the kind of games that we like, and it's kind of like we weren't really seeing those games at Sony events. But this one, this state of play, I was like, I feel seen. They've seen me. I feel identified. I feel recognized. So, how did they start that one off? And I know that Bacon actually has gone over this as well, but they started off with a banger, Tekken 8, and the whole thing about chains and how the chain kind of looks like an 8. I thought that was a really great design cue, and there's actually an interview with Harada where he kind of elaborates more that there's more to do. It's not just like a visual aesthetic thing. There's something to do with like the game or the story, and maybe there's, yeah, maybe it'll, you know how game devs kind of like to do that, like with SF5 there was like the V system, V5, blah blah blah, right? And so maybe we're going to be seeing something along those lines where there's going to be like a chain system, which kind of relates to the chain, the visual of the chain, and even the story of the chain, you know. And Harada further elaborated that Tekken 7 was about the relationship between Heihachi and Jin Kazama, and so Tekken 8 will be then about Jin and his son, whose name escapes me now, but yeah, that's cool. Sure, why not? Tekken 8, baby. Tekken 8 looks dope. Sony Senpai noticed us. Yeah, exactly. They noticed us. Yeah, Tekken 8. Yeah, if you guys are interested, there is a new interview out there with Harada where he kind of elaborates more on the things that we saw in it. He was talking about how previously in Tekken 7, the blood and sweat and the dirt and grime was kind of like a system that they developed, but it wasn't how did he put it? I guess he was saying it's just a whole lot more developed now. It's a lot more elaborate the way they've done it, and so when characters get kicked on the ground, you know, their clothes will get scuffed and dirty, and the sweat and the rain will like accurately cascade upon the bodies and the muscles and everything. It was talking about that. So yeah, sure, why not? Let's get it. Let's get into it. All the sweat, the sweaty. For all you sweaty fans out there. He also said that the character models are completely built from the ground up. There's no... they've thrown away, they've discarded all of the Tekken 7 work they've done, and they're all being developed from the ground up. That's actually very encouraging to me. PC7, we've got polycaps, guys. Polycaps! Especially as it relates to the women in Tekken, I've always felt like they never looked as good as like the other sort of character models in other games, and I can't even really place why. I think it has something to do with the shoulders. I always felt like the shoulders felt very doll-like, very mannequin-like, and so maybe we'll be getting some nicer character models for the ladies. Kazuya and Jin, right. So yeah, that's how they started it off, guys. Holy shit, that was killer. That was a great start to the Sony State of Play, and there was a number of stuff in the middle. Some of it was interesting, some of it was maybe a little less interesting, but it was always kind of good. We were always kind of floating around in the area of like, this is good, this is good stuff. It's not boring, it's not really something that I'm totally just gonna not care about, you know what I'm saying? They showed a game with a car that was like a kind of like horror-based car game, and even that looked pretty interesting. So yeah, they were doing pretty well for themselves with the conference, and yeah, somewhere in between they showed that game developed by Korean developers. It kind of looked like a character action game, and that looked good. What else? And for Night Trap or Bacon or anyone else, please chime in if something was of interest to you. Aside from the big ones, we'll get to the big ones. PlayStation Star being the exception, yes. See, I almost forgot about that, so I'm glad that you mentioned that. That was definitely kind of like a slow point. It's kind of like, don't care. And I can't even really explain what that was, and let's not even bother talking about it. It's just some kind of Sony community thing. I don't know. I don't even know how to put it, but it wasn't that great. It wasn't that interesting. What other things in the middle? During that whole middle part. Anything else? Anything else? C1? So, you know what's... Let's take a pause from talking about the games for a second. Talk about this kit. So this kit actually has a very interesting layout for the instructions, where they actually show you on the runner what piece you're going to be getting. So for example, on the B1 runner, take this and this. That is awesome. I think that's a really, really great feature in an instruction manual. I don't know if future or modern Gundam kits, Gunpla kits have this feature, but I really, really like that. And you might think to yourself, like, what's the big deal? Like, who cares, right? It just kind of cuts down on the time searching. You can easily identify that this is the frame, right? Just judging by how it's shaped and the pieces on it. And you can easily identify what are the pieces that you need, 1 and 2. And matter of fact, they kind of cascade down in a sensible fashion, right? So if you take a look at this, the second part of the instruction, now we're moving on to the body. We're kind of cascading from like head to toe, right? The body unit, and now we're going to take from the same runner 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. It's just structured in a really, really nice way. I think that's great. And I don't recall if the EG kits were like that. They may have been. I can't really remember at the moment, but it's good. It's good. It's good stuff. Paper Joey, maybe a farming game might catch my interest, but I just got that Gundam game. Oh shit, Paper Joey, you gonna play with Eddie and all the guys, everyone else? Everyone's playing that game. The Gundam SD Battle. Yeah, let me know how you like that game when you play it. Bacon, are just telling you which runners you'll be using in advance. Yeah, it's a great feature. It's great stuff. And again, it's not something that you'd really think would be all that great or really all that innovative, but it's awesome. I really, it just makes the building experience that much more. It just flows a lot nicer. You know how, like, I often compare the building experience of Gundam models or Plamo to Lego, and Lego's the king. You know, when it comes to having a beautiful, very elegant building experience, they are the best at it. And when I built the EG kits, the RX-78 and the new Gundam, I was like, this is very, very close to feeling almost like a Lego-like experience. The clarity of the design and the clarity of the instructions, combined with just like the connectivity of the pieces and how they just beautifully came together, and there wasn't really much issues with the fit of the parts. I didn't have to go in and shave a bunch of crap and then and try and make it fit, and then shave it again. And the quality of the plastic, again, that's also very Lego-like. There's the quality of the plastic and the exacting production values. It just felt very Lego-like. So yeah. Oh, Bacon's got to head to work. All right, Bacon. Thanks for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're feeling better now, by the way. Take care of yourself out there, man. Take care of yourself. But yeah, thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. Paper Joe, I haven't really gotten to the meat and potatoes of it yet, but I'm enjoying the early stages. Nice. Yeah, I thought it was like a versus game. I thought it was like a game where you were going to be fighting each other. But it's actually not. You're going to be teaming up with people. I didn't realize that. So. What else did they show at the Sony thing? And again, Night Trap, help me out here. If there's something that I've forgotten with the Nintendo, or sorry, the Sony thing. Aside from the big ones, right? Aside from like the bangers, was there anything smaller that you might have taken an interest to? I can't recall at the moment, but I'm sure there was something, right? Singuality, right. That would have been the... That would have been the robot game. It was like you were... It was like a waifu girl and then a cool robot. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Totally up my alley. I'm very much down for that game. I think that's going to be really fun. Singuality. And I don't think we've heard about that before, which is really neat. You know, I love seeing new IP. It's just the nature of the industry that you're going to see a lot of repeats, a lot of sequels of games, a lot of remakes. Especially these days, it's really happening with greater frequency. But yeah, something new like Singuality, I'm down. That'll be nice. Mecha waifu, exactly. Mecha waifu. Who were the devs of that game? Was it Namco Bandai? I think it might have been Namco Bandai. Which is interesting because they have a number of devs within the company, so I don't know who exactly made that game. Just gonna be taking all these pieces. Let's just get them all out now. Paper Joey. Only downside is 3-person team is kind of small and the cutscenes are unskippable, very bad in a game that needs grinding. Oh. I feel like they'll probably address that at some point. Seems like the game has been doing pretty well for itself. Seems, I mean, in the circles that we travel in, it does seem quite popular. So I think that Namco Bandai is going to be supporting it in the long run, and so we'll probably see some upgrades or rather updates to it that will address any issues that people have. So that'll be, I think something like that they can take care of. They'll take care of that. But yeah, since I can't remember any other big game, or rather like smallish games that were shown at the Sony Direct, let's just talk about the big ones, the big ones. And so we talked about Tekken. And the other big one was Yakuza Ishin. Yakuza Ishin is coming back. Or rather, we're seeing it in the West for the first time. They're remaking it from the ground up using Unreal Engine 5. And it's beautiful. Like, I would like to direct you guys to Night Trap's channel where he I don't have the timestamp for it, but yeah, he reacted to that. Night Trap is in here chatting, so you guys can check it out. But yeah, he was streaming it, and his reaction was golden when they announced that. It was a beautiful moment, man. We've been waiting for that for a very, very long time, and for a while there, it seemed like it wasn't even going to happen. It was just going to be a game that was going to just remain in Japan. And it's so funny because I just read an article saying how it was indeed the success of Ghost of Tsushima that encouraged Sega to get off their asses and put this game out in the West. So thank you, Ghost of Tsushima. I haven't even played that game, but I feel like I should probably play it just out of gratitude, because we're going to be getting Yakuza Ishin. Stellar Blade, aka what Bayonetta 3 should have looked like. You're right. Yes. I was struggling to remember the name of that game, but that was the other one. That looks really great. And I think that the combat looks on point. Like, it's a tricky thing to nail. You know what I'm saying? Like, making a character action game and have combat that feels really satisfying. I think that there's only like a handful of devs out there that can really nail it. Capcom, Tecmo Koei, or rather Team Ninja, and Platinum. Really, those are the three main devs that do the genre justice. And this is a Korean dev who I think they've never really made any other games before. It's their first real stab at creating a you know, like an elaborate, fancy, I don't know if we can call it AAA, but, you know, big budget game. And thus far, it looks good. You know, sometimes you can tell and you can watch like a game trailer, and even though it claims to be gameplay scenes or in-game graphics, it doesn't actually look like gameplay. It doesn't actually look like real hands-on gameplay. They've fudged it in some fashion. Sometimes you can just tell. But when I was looking at Stellar Blade, I was like, yeah, this looks good. It looks real, I think, to me at least. And it looks playable, and it looks good. There's a certain amount of weight, there's a certain amount of speed and responsiveness and expressiveness. That's the other thing in a game like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, and now with something like this, with these action games, is that you have to kind of have the ability to express yourself. I know that sounds very unusual for a game where you're just beating up people, but yes, it seemed like there was a good amount of expression in that game, which is really cool. Uh-oh. There it is, guys. Gotta do it. You guys know the drill. Okay. So yes, Yakuza Ishin, very, very exciting. It's a game from the PS4 era, so it's older, but they're remaking it from the ground up, and it looks good. We don't really know too much more about it regarding like the combat system, if they're reinventing the combat system. I think there might even be some footage. That whistle, yeah, there's the whistle, baby. Gotta zone back into the work. Paper Joey, gonna alert. No problem, Paper Joey. Please, prioritize your work for sure. I will see you another time or sometime later, but take care of yourself, and thanks for stopping by. You're lurking now, so yeah. Thank you. Let's see. Yes, I think just recently some gameplay was shown for Yakuza Ishin. Like 10 minutes of gameplay. I haven't watched it yet, but we'll take a look. I'll take a look at it a little later today or tonight or tomorrow, and we can kind of we'll see what we can see and learn about it. I've never played it, of course, so the original side, I wouldn't know if it's very much tied to the old game or not. You know, like what we're seeing. One would hope that that the combat system has been updated to some extent. Yakuza games, kind of game after game, have constantly refined their combat system, and I assume that the combat system in the old Ishin game, the original Ishin, was somewhat dated, and so that's just an assumption of mine. So I would then hope that we're going to be getting something with a bit more polish, but I don't know. Does the lurk command work? I think it works. I don't know. I do know that sometimes we have to like update that thing, so I don't know if it needs an update or whatever. Oh, night trap's lurking, or you're just testing it out. You're testing it out. Right. Yeah, it does work. I guess we could take a look at other commands that we could enable for the stream. I don't know what else we would want to even enable, but yeah, that's something we could look at. Some more commands. And you know, the good times keep rolling with Yakuza, or rather, Like a Dragon. There's more to discuss for Like a Dragon, which is super exciting. But that would be for another day, because the Sony thing still continued. There was still some Sony stuff to talk about. They ended it off with God of War, which is a banger. I'm sure that God of War is going to be super great. They may have potentially shown a bit too much, because it looked really great, the stuff that they showed, and some of those scenes look really epic. But it begs the question, what's actually in the game itself? If they're feeling willing to show this much, could it be that the full game is going to be have even more amazing scenes, if they felt okay to reveal that much? But the other game that they showed, and this was revealed prior to the God of War stuff, was Rise of the Ronin by Tecmo Koei, by the developers of Neo 2, Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise, and even Wulong. I think it's called Wulong or Wukong. They showed all of those games, or they made all of those games, and all of those games are really promising. So, hold on a second. Let's get some music back on. So the pedigree is there. Those devs, they're super talented. And while you could say that they did ape the Dark Souls formula in making Neo, I think they did a lot to kind of make it their own. They did a lot to kind of put their own stamp on it in one way or another. And with this new game, I really don't know if it's going to be a Souls-like. That's kind of up in the air at this point. Rather, it seems to me like they're looking to kind of emulate the success of Ghost of Tsushima, much in the same way that Yakuza Ishin was a response to the success of Ghost of Tsushima. We're going to be getting this game, which again looks like something that was made as kind of like a response in one way or another. And it's just great. Like it's kind of says a lot about Ghost of Tsushima. It's a game developed by Americans, and they were able to create something that a lot of Japanese devs and a lot of Japanese video game fans really resonated with them. And there's a chance there that they would have missed the mark. There's a chance that, you know, what do these guys even know? You know, they're taking an approach to Japanese culture and Japanese history, and even like in terms of gameplay, like maybe it just would end up not being very satisfying in those respects. It seems like a lot of devs, from the devs and the fans, they all really liked it. And of course, you know, it was a huge success worldwide. So yeah, Tecmo Koei is definitely gonna want to jump on that bandwagon, and it looks good. Like, you know, people can say it looks like a clone. People can say it looks like this and it looks like that. It's a ripoff or something. I actually haven't been reading any kind of reaction in that sense, but you could see it happening, and yet from my stance is like, yeah, that other thing was really great. Let's have more of it. Let's have more awesome things. Why not, right? And yeah, unfortunately we don't know too much about it at this point. I don't even know if it's open world. I would guess it is open world, at least in some way it would be kind of open world-ish. And there's horse riding, there's like gliders, there's a lot of weapons. We don't know if you can create your own character or not, but it seems to take place in a very specific historical time period, and all the enemies that we had seen so far are all human. They're all humanoid or human. There was no like Oni or monsters or demons like you might see in something like Neo. So that's actually very interesting. I don't know. That would be a very, very brave choice, I think. That would be a very, very interesting choice if it was simply a game with human versus human combat and conflict, and there was no demons. Of course, Ghost of Tsushima was a game where it was all humans and no monsters. So yes, it could very well be like that too, but we don't know. It's just really exciting to me, and that game is it's going to be published by Sony. I don't know how much involvement Sony has with that game beyond that, if they're involved in some regards with the actual design of the game. I doubt it, but it might be some kind of relationship like they've had with From Software in the past, games like Demon's Souls, where there was some sort of like input and conversation between Sony and From Software to then create Demon's Souls. And now obviously that's a huge and wonderful genre over the years, and so with Rise of the Ronin, we're seeing another Sony published game, and maybe we'll get something like that too. There'll be some kind of interaction between Sony Interactive and Tecmo Koei, Team Ninja, to develop this game. I don't really know, but if it also benefited from Sony's marketing, that would be great. Sony sometimes doesn't market their games as well as they should, right? And then their games kind of suffer in terms of sales and popularity. But when they do put the weight of their marketing force, it can result in some fantastic results. Hold on a second. Let's just get all the parts that we need. A15. And I don't think it matters what part we put in here. Let's put that. It's just, yeah, let's actually focus a wee bit on building. But yeah, if you remember the marketing for God of War, the 2018 game, it was wild. They actually, I think during the halftime of a Golden State Warriors game, they basically created like this cinematic movie experience during the halftime, and projected like scenes, like originally animated scenes, I think, onto the entire floor. of the court, and then they combined it with the jumbotron, the TV that's hanging in the center of the court. They kind of combined it together to create like this cool sort of like, I don't know, multimedia experience. It was really, really neat. But even like that's God of War, of course, but even to a lesser extent, something like Bloodborne, they really did a good job marketing that game too. So, and other games as well. So, if the involvement of Sony for Rise of the Ronin, if the extent of that is simply just like, we're paying you a certain amount of money and we'll publish it for you and also we'll help you market it, that's actually a really, it's a plus, it's a buff. And the Neo games themselves started off as Sony not published, but Sony exclusives, and then they would go on to appear on PC. So, you know, it's an established formula, relationship that's continuing to flourish. And I haven't always been a big fan of Team Ninja games. It's not like I've played all of their games, but they definitely are very interesting to me. And I kind of recognize and appreciate games like Ninja Gaiden, even though I haven't really played too much of them. I think they're really hitting their stride now. I think they're really kind of getting into a groove and sort of defining what their company is like, what their studio is like, and the kind of games that they make. They're really sort of distinguishing themselves in that way, which is really, really great. So yeah, that was the Sony one. A lot of like, I would say the Tekken gameplay reveal, Yakuza Ishin, and then the reveal of that game. I was just talking about Rise of the Ronin. All of those things combined made a great conference, and there was a number of other things that were pretty cool too. So in terms of Sony-related events, Sony-related press conferences, this has got to be one of the better ones in recent years, at least to me. And again, I think for me and a lot of the regulars here, or some of the regulars here, that it's just sort of, that's just sort of our wheelhouse. Those games, that's the stuff that we are into, and it's kind of rare to have an event that so specifically kind of caters to our particular tastes, as unusual or as uncommon as they can be. So that was really neat. We felt seen. We were seen. And yeah, again, the hits kept on rolling. Like, that was Sony, but there was more to come. The next day, super early in the morning, if you're on the Eastern time zone, if you're in Canada, there was a Yakuza Summit, which is a really funny way of phrasing it. It was a summit. Whenever I hear the word summit, I just think of like world leaders gathering together and talking about like super important things. But no, it was a RGG, Ryu ga Gotoko, like a dragon summit. We're talking about more stuff, more things about Ishin and other future plans for the Yakuza franchise, which is, again, really great. If you're someone like me who's been a fan since the beginning, been a fan since the PS2 days, back when they had English voice acting, and they got like Lex Luthor to be from Smallville to be one of the voice actors. I still remember that. And Michael Madsen, I think he was in it too. Really funny. But yeah, so in addition to Ishin coming, which is almost a rhyme, I almost had bars just there. Let's get some water, guys. Let's get some tea. They showed a new game starring Kiryu. who's been like the main character of all the Yakuza games, all the mainline Yakuza games up to 7. And we're coming back to Kiryu, and it's a game that's going to take place between the events of Yakuza 6 and 7, I think. Or is it 5 and 6? Well, it's a game that's an interquel, as some people have called it, an interquel. Not a prequel necessarily, not a sequel. It's happening between 2 other games in the series. And that could be really cool. The trailer was really neat. They showed Kiryu, and he's like kind of like a monk. Some kind of Buddhist monk or Shinto priest or something. I don't know. And it looks like he has to go and do missions for this new organization. He's not working for the Yakuza anymore. He's working for some other organization. And this game is intended to explain something about Kiryu, which will then lead into Yakuza 8, which is another game that they showed. Yakuza 8, or rather, Like a Dragon 8. I kind of was hoping, they should have called Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon 7. That's what it was called in Japan, and I was thinking maybe they'll call it that here in the West. It's kind of like a good time to change things up as we have a new character as the main character now, but they saved that till the 8th entry. And yeah, from this point forward, I think they're kind of dropping the Yakuza name, and they're kind of embracing Like a Dragon, which is again the translation of the Japanese series and the name. And that's cool. Like a Dragon. And I'm gonna put this C14. Yes, it doesn't matter. Oh, I didn't actually cut out a C14. C14. And in that game, Yakuza 8, it seems like you'll have dual protagonists. You'll have 2 main characters. You'll be playing as Kiryu and Ichiban, which is cool. Why not? I really liked Ichiban, and I think if we got another game that just had Ichiban, I think that would have been fine. To be honest, I'm totally fine with that. That would be great. But Kiryu is kind of like Master Chief in that sense. We're not ever really gonna get rid of Master Chief, right? He's always going to be a part of the Halo franchise, and with Halo they constantly try and add new characters, introduce new characters. Even as early as Halo 2, they had the Arbiter, who was really cool. But yeah, they keep on trying to add new characters, but at the end of the day, everyone just wants Master Chief, and I think we're kind of along those lines with Kiryu. That being said, I like Kiryu a whole lot more than Master Chief. I think he's a whole lot more interesting, so I'm fine with that. But I'm glad that Yakuza 8 will still be an RPG. That's very exciting to me, because I think that really breathed new life into the franchise for me. And it actually, you would think that turn-based combat would make the gameplay feel slower and more sluggish, right? Compared to an action-based game, but actually the combat was really fast in Yakuza 7, because if you were strong enough, and if you were fighting weak enemies, you could obliterate them in a second. And yet, with something like the typical Yakuza action formula, combat would take time. You still had to do all your combos on them. You still had to fight them and punch them a few times, but surprisingly enough, the turn-based combat in Yakuza 7 was just surprisingly snappy, surprisingly fast. So I'm glad we're having that. We're getting that, and for fans of the old style combat, there's Yakuza. Sorry. Like a Dragon. The side story. What did they call that? Wow. Gaiden. It was called Like a Dragon Gaiden. The one where it's like an interquel, and that game is going to have action-based combat. It's supposed to be a little shorter, but that's I feel like it's still going to be a pretty long game. It's going to be a pretty decent length after all. So yeah, you get the best of both worlds, and yeah, so 3 Yakuza games, all within a very kind of compressed time frame. It's great. Why not? It's awesome. I'm looking forward to all of that. It's awesome. What does this say here? You can put together both sets using the same steps to speedily assemble the kit. Okay. Well, let's actually get out the rest of the parts. They're saying that we can do that. Actually, no. Let's assemble the... No. Can't decide. Let's get all these parts out. And let's get out the other bits that we need. A15. B25 and B15. Okay, we need B25. And you know that night before the Yakuza event, right after the Sony one, there was this little teaser trailer that Sega put out, sort of teasing the summit that would happen early in the morning the next day. And it was kind of like, well, that's weird. Like, I was kind of assuming it was not going to be really that important. The Yakuza Summit. I want to say Yakuza. I know it's called Like a Dragon or RGG or Ryuga Gotoko. I always wanted to just say Yakuza, but I'm gonna make an effort to kind of use the proper terminology. But anyways, they were promoting it and saying it was gonna be special, it was gonna be interesting, and I really just assumed it was gonna be like a lot of these kind of Japanese events where they're kind of like, you think it's gonna be great and you think it's gonna be really something special, but then it kind of ends up being like the devs and a host like just talking about like nonsense and stuff that I don't really care about, and you know what I mean, and reminiscing about the game, but it's all in Japanese, so I don't even understand it. So it was very cool that it actually ended up being much more than that, much more important, much more special. But yeah, in that initial teaser for it, the night of the Sony conference, they had Kenny Omega, Rahul Kohli, if I'm getting that name right, Vampy Bit Me, a number of other prominent celebrities in one way, shape, or another, talking and getting hyped about Yakuza. And I was like, whoa, they went through all the effort of having these like popular Western celebrities, is that the right way of putting it, promote this event, this conference, this summit. Maybe it's actually going to be good. Maybe it's actually going to show something. And it turned out to be true, right? Yakuza 8, hello. And not one Yakuza game, but 2. Amazing. Yeah, Kenny Omega, longtime fan of video games. He's a professional wrestler and Canadian too, so obviously I'm a fan of Kenny Omega. He actually his signature wrestling move is actually called the One-Winged Angel, so that's how you know he's legit. During a big wrestling event pay-per-view, he came out to an original animation and song, I think, by Toby Fox, like Undertale, which was really cool, and I think he even kind of had a costume or a wrestling outfit that was sort of like an homage to Undertale. And Rahul Kohli, so he's an actor. I don't know. He's in some kind of Western TV show. I think it's a show with Kevin Costner as well. I've never watched it, but he seems like a really popular actor lately, and he's a nerd too. That's the thing that I mostly have understood about them, is that he's like a pretty legit nerd. He's really into video games. He's been chatting and palling it up with Hideo Kojima. And you know that Kojima loves his celebrities, right? And his movie stars and TV stars. But he's also, so if that wasn't enough with this Rahul Kohli person, he's also a big fan of Warhammer and Gundams too. So he's like a man after our own heart. He's an honorary Ippo Dempsey rolled dude. I don't know. We're still kind of workshopping what we want to call our gang here. He's an honorary member of the Sloth Bros, the Sloth Gang. So yeah, Warhammer. He's like, yeah, he seems to know his stuff. He seems to be really into building and painting models, and Gunpla too. So yeah, he's a dude. And yeah, he was promoting Yakuza as well. And that was just about the Yakuza Like a Dragon Summit. That's all I can recall. That was big, and that was again just like super early in the morning. And I woke up too late for it. I woke up just bleary-eyed and barely had my wits together. And just check Discord, check Twitter, and there was people talking about it. Even Bacon and Eshwin, they were talking about it. They must have been watching it. And I was like, oh shit, that happened. I forgot. So I had to catch up. It was cool. It was awesome.